I was hoping to get something from you, like advice for indie developers in 2025, that something they can do to not feel like scared. Because it was a weird year. I don't know. Do you have anything?
Yeah. The harsh reality of, if you want to be happy doing this, you need to learn to live very poor and be comfortable with that, and know that you will survive and you'll figure it out, even if you have to take a part-time job or contract work or whatever else needs to happen. Um, you got to be more realistic about your time and what you're doing, and hustle. You can't be scared to hustle, and if hustling isn't your thing, you need to learn it. One of the things that a lot of indies don't, especially people from the mainstream that are moving into indie development, don't realize, and I didn't realize looking into mainstream development, is how many hats an independent game developer has to wear in order to become successful. Somebody in your group, probably you, is going to have to be somebody who seeks out press, figures out what that means now. How do I get my game out there to people? Somebody in the group needs to figure that shit out, you know?
Yeah.
And you need to know if that's you. Somebody needs to be the face. Somebody needs to be the voice. Somebody needs to be the one, and I failed at this, to kind of put their foot down and say, this isn't working. We need to stop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there are so many aspects of game development that have nothing to do with game development, that are needed when you're an independent game developer.
Yeah.
You just have to be this major jack of all trades, and you need to get as much information as you can about as many things as possible in order to have a chance at being a success.
Yeah.
Or you just roll the dice and, and you're in the right time in the right place, but not, I mean, that's rare. That's rare these days.
Well, I think about all the games on Steam. There's, how many are supposed to be released in 2025? I think it's something like 20,000. I'm not sure. But I mean, 80% of those games are games made by people who, I'm just throwing this number out there, or I'm making up a random percentage, but 80% I would think are people who don't know how to do what you just said, to do all the things. And
I've worked with many people who not only don't know how, but absolutely will not.
They refuse out of principle.
Refuse. Like I've worked with people, and it's a personality type thing too. I've worked with people who are like, I will absolutely not speak positively about my work because it feels self-serving.
Mm.
And it's just not, they can't do it because it feels like they're bragging about themselves. I have no fucking
Me neither.
it's not gonna, but no, that's a personality type, and it's not an uncommon one. There are people who struggle with that, or struggle with kind of like, they feel like it's boasting, or it's, they're bragging about something and they can't will themselves to do it, or they simply are scared to talk in public, or or
you're talking about marketing, right? They refuse to market. I mean, at the end of the day. And so, let's say 80% of those games out there, not only are 80% of the games kind of trash on Steam, but then they don't market themselves. They don't participate in typical business practices. Like, if you want to make money, you got to market the thing. So I guess my point is that I'm encouraged by what you said, which is, look, you've got to grind, you've got to hustle. And what's encouraging about that is only like 10% of the Steam games are going to do that. And so everyone's thinking, oh, there's so many games and everyone's trying to get the money. And it's like, yeah, kind of. I mean, it's just like the barrier of entry is so low on Steam that really you're only competing with 10% of those games. Yeah. You know what I mean? If you really hustle.
Yeah. I mean, I have a lot of people that come up to me and they're like, hey, I've got this thing coming out, or I'm going to do a Kickstarter for this thing. Can you give me your opinion on it? And the first thing I do is like, well, show me your social media. And they've got no one following them. And I'm like, well, Usually you can just divide your social media following and figure out what you're going to sell.
Can you really?
Oh yeah, it's just reality. Like, how else is this going to happen? Like, you need to build a fan base for the fan base to find you, unless you've got a fucking publisher funneling thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars into pushing your game in front of people's eyeballs.
Good luck. Publishers don't market anything anymore.
Yeah. Well, I know Devolver really doubles down on ones that sell, because I see some shit. Yeah. If it sells, I mean, yeah, that's the shitty thing, right?
But can you? I mean, honestly, though,
after the fact, usually it's like, oh, if this thing's already successful, then we're going to invest in advertising.
I honestly, dude, I don't even blame them. They're running a business. They got families and mouths to feed. So there's part of me that's just like, well, of course you're going to double down on your successful games, you know. So anyway,
yeah, it's hard. It's hard. I still would love to believe. So this is the reality. A majority of people games out there, it's not that they suck. It's that the bar has been raised. The bar has been raised really, really, really high when it comes to what people will care about. And what people care about is this thing that they don't know exists, that's really exciting, that everybody's playing, that's new. So it's, when taking a risk, it's much better at this point in the game to double down on something that's totally out of the box and weird and different than everything else than something that's just like this other thing.
Correct. So don't use Unreal Engine. Is that what you're saying?
You can use whatever the fuck you want. You can make a game with Game Maker and it can be successful.
Yeah. You just need to lean into your weirdness. The things
Hotline Miami and the original Spelunky were made in Game Maker.
Yep. Engine doesn't matter. What matters is knowing what your forte is, knowing what makes you spicy and unique.
Balatro.
Yeah.
Come on. It's a fucking deck of cards. He could have made that in real life, just drawing on playing cards. You don't need shit. It doesn't matter what you're working in. You just have to have a really interesting idea that is expandable, that hasn't been done before, that is exciting and draws people in, has a spiciness or uniqueness or weirdness to it that isn't being given by anybody else.
Yep.
And then you bet on that.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you want to take indie game development to the next level in 2025, if that's maybe your New Year's resolution, I teach all about building an indie game studio from scratch. Whether it's, getting funding for your demo, whether it's the development side, making a game in Unity, Godot, Unreal, 2D or 3D, doesn't matter, take your pick. Or whether it's hitting the Steam front page or marketing your game or getting streamers to play your game. My program covers it all, and it's taught by someone who's actually done all of this, so be sure to check it out below. It's 50% off, and you're also going to get my 2D art program and my 3D art program completely free, but only for this New Year's sale event. This is the same promotion I did for Black Friday. Figured I'd do it for New Year's. I don't know when I'm gonna do something this big. It'll probably be the next Black Friday in 2025. So be sure to check it out below. It's limited time, and there's just 150 seats available. Thanks. Cheers.